All right, Master Mason, George Cole coming at you here. End of the day review to that. So we've been kicking matter around a little bit today. What it is, what it's not. It's space. It's that thing right there. That thing requires a certain amount of time matters around it. And they're relatively semiotic or simultaneously linked in quantum positions to one another around the laws of gravity, what the laws of gravity special relativity would be for them, because the laws of gravity are dictated in a special field in the stone mill. This is the increments of the weight, the value, the time, the output, and if any of that passes through the black hole, it determines some kind of effect. Gamma release, attitudes of people on the mill floor, work ethic, turnover rate, fundamental failure behavioral of the energy of a black hole. Because then you would say, well, that's the stock. That's the space where time fails. And so things would start to break down, yeah? I think we've had a good run on it today. There was a couple of things. Are they the right method to egregiously kind of go with those things? I mean, I had the work done. It's on the floor. I'm backlogged from yesterday. I don't know. There's still not a guy helping me thermal as far as I know there was supposed to be. I mean, I don't know. That really radically makes my position a lot more demanding. Where I had bays before, should be able to run those, should be able to do them. If the offset for the 2x material is coming through there, and that was capitally set to me running all of that, and again, I gotta hit beer on this one because, that hour I could have had that cleared off the floor. Maybe we're a stack down today, and I could have made the choice on them, the brown ones, and, what stack, how many variegateds in them, the 12s and stuff in that. So we could have run all that solid blue material, run all that secondary 12 material and stuff later. Because like I said, normally that'd be fine for a thermaler, but now that looks to the position, to gravity, to the limitations of that job standard, to somebody to say that's always been your standard in that company. This method of choosing the first rock in the line is always the correct model. Under no circumstances is that different. The training application of the job timeline, guys. What are the outputs, and beyond those points, up to here your cap limit is, if you're in before this, what it does. So when you set it out like that, you're asking a lot of these same questions. Again, it's a lot of times, these are the time numbers. This is the budget. This is what plays we've had before that. These are the people who are in charge of that. And the thing about it is you just can't knock out the people that you want. It's very rarely that one person in front of you, especially as a group, all of them want to do a different thing. See, gun control is one of those things. It's going to be a gun, it's going to be a stick, it's going to be ramped up. No matter what you do with the information, there will always be a need to do something different with it. And it's impossible. It's essentially bullshit. All right? Some of the other ones are educationally as well. Well, which core and which the science has never changed. We've had the same science since the 70s or 60s, fuck 40s. And so the combinations of which one of those leads to the best result, fine. But that's not what happens. There's no science behind that to say, well, this method towards an output of small-scale case studies, or the fact that there's regions in New York and California, but nowhere else. How can I definitively determine the mass of this situation in somebody's education to whether a master's degree in one college, given the test, the standards, and the output answer, is all the same? Do colleges have different methods and masters in the output of what the form M1, M2, M3 is for those college classes? Because if they're not all the same number, and as an expert, a master of that field to call the organization of what physics is, in your case, the people, what they decide to be the best output on that system possible. In Stone Mill, Rich, a hand of his council of generals. When Rich isn't in the room, Veer. When Veer's not in the room, anybody else. When I'm in that room, me. So guess who's in that room, regardless if Rich is in that room, Veer's in that room, or anybody else when shit starts stops to matter. And I don't mean that disrespectfully to them. I'm using them as the marshmallow. I'm not trying to alienate Billy to... I think you're a great guy, Billy. But coming up in how this affects the PO Pat on Back award and, local militias coming through here, I got to have a way to separate, you're going to be easily felled into that mindset, if anything. So I got to do this building as master masons, and really there's no difference between Senate, between mathematics, between gas law, between astrophysics, between any of those things that make that thing what it is. And my job is to make sure that you have every ability inside of there. And making decisions and doing things, grabbing people's terminals when it's in their section, well, they have to gain experience where you're already cleared off. It's the wrong mechanics. So I'm not necessarily questioning Billy. I'm questioning anybody else who doesn't have this ability to recognize that. All right, I'm challenging y'all. I'm calling y'all out. Here we've essentially broken the law of physics. It was whatever. Now we get to be some of the people who say, hey, in the IMA, as a group of people, we said that there is 97% of the entire universe. No, I don't know exactly where it is or where it's going to be that way. But from these calculations, I know that there is 97% without being there. Action at a spooky distance. When we get there, we're going to use these three. That's what we know. We know everything about them except for their exact mass. When we put something in there, I know the mass of that space in general, depending on the time matrix. And that matrix is dependent on the space, the length of that time of window, which is arbitrary in dimensions. Because that would go right down to zero, right? Right at the quantum barrier. And then the reactions of those things. There's really nothing below that. It's just an action of misunderstanding that, all right, so a quark is over here, a neutron is over here relative to the neutron. And quark, electron, leptons, quarks, whatever, the three, the muon, tau, and neutrino. That's what I'm looking for. And that's your XYZ, right? And because two of them are fluttering together in a composition of hydrogen, let's say, because it would be different, and the angles of the XYZ aren't exactly 90, let's say, they'd be some other composition of the Feynman diagram. That in that relationship, that one of them is time, one of them is space, and one of them is the action of that. Now, at the quantum barrier, somebody's going to tell me that this is below this. I'm going to say, no. The actions that it conducts in physics to say that they are that for that long in that response is to say the magnetic field around the sun, the gas cloud that forms around that, the whole entire solar body in general. We got to make a number. Pick a fucking number. Then you dial the feeds and speeds on the EM radio to get what you want it to go. Then the message still might get in there, but it might be a little bit fuzzy. And you find that, time actually had 2 bits in there, didn't it? It had some other correlation to having effect of some electron or muon or whatever tapping into it, because that's what happens on the floor. Hopefully you saw that today in that video with those tachyons and gravitons and gamma radiation and alpha beta radiation, right? Now, I get a lot of during the day, you think you're smart? Well, challenge me. I should be able to defend that against anybody you put against me in any field. Alex Trebek, let's bring it on. That's good memory. That's good memorization. I'll take everything you do there that you say you memorize and apply it. I just need the name. I don't even know the answer or how the thing went, but the question had a note about economics. This person's name. So there was a time barrier. There was how that affects. There's how that affects point A against today's standards and what would need to be done to readjust that. Pretty straightforward. Doesn't matter Hemingway for Who the Bell Tolls or a million monkeys smashing their face off for Hemingway. Like I said, YouTube, thevote.com, you can build the engineer, take a vote. You guys think that's some of there? Take the comment section, segment it down. There's lots of scientists, anthropologists, archaeologists. One of you will dig this up. Salty? All right. And, from that, we can understand what the vote is. We have the nature of the universe right there. We have the nature of the problem. Because regardless of whether that's the problem over there and everybody wants to think it's over there, it affects here to certain masses, to certain attitudes, to certain points. And believe me, if you feel them in your side right now and you're about as sick of it as I am, give me a phone call.